Where do those scars really come from? What does the clown's makeup symbolize? And what the hell is the joke the Joker never told us? There is one answer to all three questions, a simple and logical answer that pervades all Joker stories, film and comic. It's an answer that only Batman knows. Let's break it down.
I'm an agent of chaos.
Gangster, anarchist, oppressed Gotham resident. All versions of the Joker say the same thing. They make fun of the same stuff. Heath Ledger's Joker tells us a different story each time about the origin of his scars, but at the heart of these stories is always the same motive. No matter how horrible the world is, or how disgusting your surroundings are, you have to smile and pretend that everything is okay. First, he tells us that his father was an alcoholic. He used to beat up the Joker, and once got so angry that he stabbed his mother to death.
So, me watching, he takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me, and he says, "Why so serious?"
He then tells us that his wife was an avid gambler. Despite her problems, she told her husband that he was too sad and needed to smile more. One day she lost a lot of money, and people came to collect the money and cut her face. She was just devastated. And to support her, the Joker cut out his smile. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker learns that he was chained to a radiator as a child. His mother's boyfriend beat him badly, but his mother told him to smile no matter what.
She always tells me to smile and put on a happy face.
No matter how bad things are, you have to look happy. You have to give the appearance of well-being, because no one cares about your problems.
That's what I'm talking about. It's so hard to just try and be happy all the time.
From a very young age, Joker smiled because that's what he learnt to do when he felt bad. It's how he expresses his pain, and when he's in particular pain, he laughs out loud.
I never heard him cry. He's always been such a happy little boy.
In the opening scene, he tries to put a smile on his face. He draws smiley faces with a cigarette butt. In the Murray Franklin Show dressing room, he writes the phrase, "Make a happy face" on a mirror. He draws a smile on a sad Bruce Wayne. Even if you're deeply unhappy, you don't have to show it.
My smile is just skin deep. If you could see inside, I'm really crying. You might join me for a weep.
Jack Nicholson's Joker invents a poison that makes people smile. He makes a commercial for it, in which he says that people seem to have already taken it.
Where can I get these fine new items? Well, that's the gag. Chances are you bought them already.
Love that Joker.
People are indifferent to injustice, cruelty and violence. They have an obligatory smile for everything, which the Joker was forced to have since childhood. And he took it literally, even radically. If everyone around him is pretending that what is happening is the norm, he will show the essence of those norms, exaggerate them, show real violence, and then everyone will have a glorious laugh together. Ledger's Joker burns money. He spits on social institutions. He kills. He sows anarchy. Nicholson's Joker walks around throwing wads of money and then sprinkling poison on the citizens. He destroys museum pieces, artifacts of the culture of a society that cares more about paintings than people. The Phoenix Joker brings fire to the city and a bloody smile to his face. He promised to become a true comedian and make everyone around him laugh. He keeps his promise. He smiles and makes a happy face.
It's gone.
The Joker looks at the world around him without rose-tinted glasses, without tinsel and frills. But that is madness. And the worst part of the situation is that he is forced to pretend that what is happening around him is normal. He's forced to play along. He writes in his notebook, "The worst part about having mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't."
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
He can't tell whether his smile is abnormal or the smiles of those around him. For him, the concepts of comedy and tragedy are intertwined. He can't help but laugh when he sees humiliation, misery and death.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's the police, ma'am. Your son's been hit by a drunk driver. He's dead.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy. But now I realize it's a fucking comedy.
And now the fun begins. A lot of people don't like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. The arguments are always different. He's a far cry from Ledger's charisma. He is an aloof genius and a bit of a whiner. And in general, his story is not canon. But what is canon in the world of comics? Batman or Joker comics aren't about one specific character, static and monolithic. It's about many different stories under one umbrella, united by an idea, a philosophy, a mythology, and a setting. Batman has over 800 issues. There's a lot going on. It's important to realise that comics are not written by studios. Comics are written by writers, and each writer sees the character in their own way. At different times, Batman and Joker comics have tackled different issues to meet the needs of different generations. Dozens of writers have worked on them, and the stories are written and look very different. In the comics industry, there is something called a run, which is a series of issues written by a particular writer or team. It can be as few as 5 issues, or as many as 50. Todd Phillips' Joker should be treated as just another run because it doesn't contradict the philosophy of the character. Todd Phillips argues that today you can't make a film like Taxi Driver or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, adult and socially relevant, unless you disguise it as a story about one of the comic book characters. Trick the audience. In essence, Joaquin Phoenix's character is Travis Bickle, or Chief Bromden, just framed by the Gotham setting. Strip away the clown makeup, the name of the city, and the references to the Wayne family, and you have the same Taxi Driver, or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The Joker is the perfect character for such a story, because he is an unreliable narrator.
Just think of a joke.
At the end of the film, he refers us to Alan Moore's legendary comic strip, The Killing Joke, in which the Joker also makes up a joke. Just as he tells the psychiatrist about his life in The Killing Joke, he tells Batman his backstory, saying at the end that it probably isn't true. The thing is, he remembers one thing and then another. He doesn't know which story is true, but all these stories are terrible. They're about people who have been knocked down by the world.
You know, you remind me of my father. I hated my father.
Maybe his wife died in childbirth. Maybe not. Maybe his father was an alcoholic. Or maybe his wife was a gambler who owed money to the sharks. Maybe he was a failed entertainer who was afraid to meet the girl next door. The Joker embodies all these stories. There are hundreds of versions of the origin of his scars, because scars are a metaphor. They are the tattered fates of people. The Joker is the rebellious voice of those who have been horribly scarred by society. The Joker remembers all these stories because he is all these people. The Joker's final joke, which we won't understand, unites all the stories. First, he tells us that everything that happens is just one version, one random person's life. The comic repeats the idea that it only takes one bad day to go mad.
All it takes is one bad day. That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day.
To demonstrate his point, the Joker sets up a bad day for Harvey Dent, who turns into an absolute madman. Secondly, when the Joker talks about making up a joke, we are shown a young Bruce Wayne standing over his dead parents. In The Killing Joke, the Joker tells Batman that very joke, and they both laugh heartily at the absurdity of this world. But neither we, the audience, nor the psychiatrist before him can really grasp the full meaning of his madness. We won't understand because not all of us have been scarred by life. That is why when the Joker utters those words, we are shown Batman. They show someone who has just been wounded, someone who will grow up to understand this murderous joke. His parents are dead, and the Joker laughs because death is nothing. Nobody cares about the orphaned boy.
Oh, why is everybody so upset about these guys? If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me.
The shot of the Wayne family echoes the shot of the Joker. In one of Gotham's alleys, the Joker was born, and Batman was born. Just one bad day.
Just one bad day. You had a bad day once, am I right? Oh, I know I am. I can tell.
The protagonist and main villain of the story is Gotham, a city where every generation, and sometimes even every decade, brings new problems. And just one random day in that city can create a new Joker. I don't think anyone should have any questions about the canonicality of the Phoenix Joker, because this story only underscores the previous ones. The Joker and Batman were born under similar circumstances, and both struggle with the same problem, but in different ways. The Joker, who chose the path from below, destroys social institutions, burns money, sows anarchy, and despises gangsters and politicians. He tries to solve the problem from the top, to get to the root of the problem. And Batman, the son of a billionaire who was part of the cause of Gotham's problems, fights only the consequences, beating up six-footers and small-time gangsters with his fists. Batman doesn't want to kill the Joker, and the Joker doesn't want to kill Batman. They are, after all, two sides of the same coin.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you?
In The Killing Joke, Batman suggests to the Joker that they call a truce and renounce violence. But the Joker says it's too late.
I'm sorry, but no. No. It's far too late for that.
Not because he can't fix himself, but because the world can't be fixed anymore. It will always be unfair, and that makes it all the funnier.
Nobody cares about you.
The comic book is a unique genre, close to myth, where anyone can create endlessly, building on familiar images and not being distracted by excessive exposition. DC is fundamentally reluctant to reveal the origins of the Joker, but the concept of the unreliable narrator allows writers like Nolan, Zack Snyder, or Alan Moore to create new layers of meta-narrative, subtext, references and imagery that weren't even originally conceived. It's a canon that simply didn't exist in the first place. Canon does not promise authenticity. Canon is just stories that come out under the auspices of the studio, approved by management. Writers come to the studio with unique ideas that are attached to an existing myth and become canon. Sometimes you get outstanding stories, sometimes good rides, sometimes mediocre popcorn flicks. But that doesn't detract from the merits of good films. It's a genre that has room for everyone. People often misinterpret Joseph Campbell's monomyth by saying that all myths and all stories are really about the same thing and have the same moves and designs in their structure. But this generalization is simply harmful because it works the other way round. In the example of comics, we see that it is not thousands of stories that are about the same thing, but one story that can unfold in thousands of ways. The same conflict is revealed in new ways depending on the era, the time and place, the circumstances. Conflict is subjective, even if a small person is at the centre of the story and a particular action has happened to them. It can mean 1,000 different things. The hero with 1,000 faces and 1,000 scars.